Well, hello folks, welcome along to the channel. I am the Custard Prophet. Today we are going to be doing a Tennis Manager 2023 video, focusing not on a Let's Play. That is coming. There will be a Let's Play very, very soon, but we are focusing on the mystical art of training. Yes, so if you're new to the game or you find the whole training part of the game pretty impenetrable, this is the video for you. Hopefully it will be a bit of a help. If you are familiar with the training process, actually it's not changed an awful lot from TM23. So watch along, but there's probably not going to be anything new and exciting in this video. So hopefully this video will be useful for those who are fairly new to the training process. If that sounds interesting to you, please hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel for more Tennis Manager 2023 content. As I said, there will be a Let's Play coming very, very soon. Okay, folks, that'll about do it. Let's jump in and find out a little bit more about how to do training. We're talking here about Tennis Manager 2023 and specifically about training. Are you someone who doesn't do the training at all in the game, or you're kind of new to the game and you've looked at training and you think, what the heck is this? How on earth do I make this work? If that's you, then this is the video for you. We're going to talk a little bit about training, why we need to do it, and how to sort of set up a training schedule, and then also very importantly, what to have in your mind when trying to set up a training schedule, what you should be sort of thinking about when you're sort of focusing on training. Okay, so why do we need to do training at all? And I think it all relates here to our attributes. We have a variety of technical, physical and mental attributes, and all of these, with the exception of these last four mental attributes, are able to be influenced by training. So we can improve these attributes over time, and that's what we're trying to do with the training module. So many of you who are setting up the game will, so when you're getting your player, and perhaps you haven't designed your own player, perhaps you've just taken on a player in an academy, but you'll have an idea of how you want that player to play. They might already have a very defined set of set style, and you might want to change that, or you might want to really sort of focus in on making that style more and more pronounced. And the only way you're going to be able to really do that is by training them in those areas. So each one of those styles is going to have a number of these attributes which are going to be really key for that style to be played. And the way I kind of think about it is that there's typically 7 or 8 primary attributes which are really, really important for a given style. Maybe 7 or 8 secondary attributes, and then all the rest that aren't particularly important at all for that style. I think if you can think about that, you don't necessarily have to make a list, but if you think about that, then you will know the priority attributes that you might want to focus on. For example, if Krusty Bun was going to be a serve and volleyer, well, thinking about that, we need them to have a good, powerful and accurate serve. We need for them to be able to return well, and we need them to be able to volley well. We also have a whole bunch of physical attributes that might be important. So for example, reflexes, which is critically important for a player who is at the net. So those might be the areas that we want to focus on, and then we can tailor our training to make that happen. So the training tab is here. Looks a little bit scary. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but it's not actually that scary at all. You're able to look at the previous week's training and also the current and the training that you've got planned over the next couple of weeks, and that allows you to set things up in advance if you need to. The days are broken down into 3 slots of morning, afternoon and evening sessions, and in each of these slots you can put in a training session manually. However, you don't have to put the training session in there manually. You can just leave this and your staff will sort out the training for you based on what you've got set up here. So if you've got general training, which if you don't even go on this, it will be general, and I think the workload will be set at medium. That's what it will look like. And every week they will just change this training, so it will be different each week. You can, if you want to go down this route and you're not too bothered about setting up the training specifically, but just have to a reasonable level of general training, you are able to just auto select the training, and it will put those, it will change it each time, and you find the auto selection that you want. It's a bit of a long-winded and non-specific way of doing things, but you can absolutely do training like that. What it's not going to do is focusing on those specific attributes that you think are important for your player. What you can do if you want to be a little bit more focused is to choose one of these technical, physical or tactical trainings. If you're interested in maybe developing a young player, one of the things you might want to do is develop them physically earlier. So you might want to put something like physical training on, and then you can increase the workload of the training, and that will just put more training sessions in there per week. You can go all the way up to super heavy training. It will have 4 days where there are 2 training sessions per week. And notice the whole week isn't filled out with training. So if you're doing this manually, what you don't want to do is just fill all this up, otherwise your player will be absolutely knackered. Now the other way of doing it is by physically changing some of these. So if I wanted to change here, all I do is click on that, and then maybe I can put powerful serve in there, and that's as easy as it is. What are these different training sessions? Well, you can find all of these down the bottom here. You can filter them based on their what they are. So if it's a technical training session you're looking for, maybe you're looking to look for volley training. Well, we've got volley training here, but it's kind of hard to find what you want. So you are able to add a filter here, and so maybe I want to look at just training which focuses on volleys, and those are all the training sessions that focus on volleying, and then I can choose which one is best for me. So there's a few important things to note when looking at these little cards. Number one is most of these you're not just going to be training one particular attribute. Multiple attributes are typically impacted, and the level of impact that each attribute has is affected by is measured by these little dots. These dots essentially relate to how much focus there is going to be on specific attributes. So for example, powerful serve, there's going to be an awful lot on serve power here, but there will be some effect on serve accuracy. So depending on what you want to do and how much focus you want to have, and it may be that there are 2 related attributes that you're looking to train, and you can find training sessions which will do both of those at the same time, which is kind of useful. The other thing that's important to note here is this thing down here, so whether the training is heavy, medium or light. What you don't want to do is have multiple heavy training sessions in one week. You want to mix it up a little bit, and what I would tend to do, this looks a pretty bad one. I would tend to, if I'm having 2 training sessions in a day, so the way I would do this is I would have one with heavy or medium training sessions, and then the other one would be light or medium, not 2 heavy training sessions in one day. Otherwise it's going to completely drain your players. But that's what each of these things is. And what you'll also note is down the bottom here you have some care and rest training sessions, which you can just either put a rest in there, or for example you can put in here, we've got pressotherapy, osteopathy, and we have a stretch training session which we can put in there, and that's going to work there. So one thing I've forgotten to mention, which I think is really important to talk about, is the little icons up here. There are 3 little icons: morale, shape and physical condition. Now all of these are really important. So physical condition is the player's physical state, as it says there. If they're doing lots and lots of training, their physical condition will reduce. If they're playing lots and lots of tennis, their physical condition will reduce. But that is all preventable by doing some of these care and rest approaches. So if you do some of these at the end of each week, you should get your physical condition back to around 100% or nearby 100%. That's what you want. The shape is, here it says, corresponds to the player's level of pace. And this is really overpowered in the game. It's so important to keep an eye on shape because it can make such a massive difference in how your player performs. So for example, our shape here is good. And what you can see is that this impacts some of the physical attributes. So footwork, balance and reflexes are all improved by 1. If this goes up to excellent, then this improves these things even more. So this can have a massive effect on your player physically. So this is improved by playing lots of tennis. So if you're playing tennis in tournaments and you get far into tournaments, your shape will get better and better and better. If you get knocked out early out of lots of tournaments, your shape will go down, and that is a really negative thing, and it's hard to get back from that. So keep an eye on your shape. Apparently physical training has a positive effect on this. I'm yet to find that that works, but if you found that, please leave a note down below. I'd love to hear from you. The final one is morale, which relates to their psychological state. And again, as long as if the player's losing lots of games, morale will go down. So one of the things you can do is play the player in lower tournaments, lower quality tournaments, so they're winning a few matches. This will improve morale, it will improve shape. It's kind of a bit of a cheat to get the player back to where you want them to be, and you do that just before one of the more high profile tournaments. They arrive at the tournament in a much better place than they might do if they'd played maybe a better tournament just before. So when you start the game, you will have a variety of different training sessions available, but you can increase these, and this is all done by improving your academy. So your academy infrastructure, the infrastructure I've got this is a new academy, so there's lots and lots of opportunity to upgrade different areas. But some of these things, for example, the track, if I improve the track, I will then get the sprints training, which is going to be a useful training for a pace or something like that. So depending on what you want to do, there may not be all the perfect training modules already available, and you may need to unlock certain infrastructure within the academy to get that sort of those perfect training sessions for you. You are able to actually look at all of the training sessions that are available, and you can see here these are all of them. And so here we've got sprints over here, so this does speed 3, reflexes 2, but there's also the obstacle course, this swimming training, there is a whole bunch of additional training, different court mastery trainings, which are really important to get. So that's when you put different courts in. There's a whole load more of these rest and care training sessions, which are really good because that is going to improve. So for example, this improves your physical condition by 3. So this is really a really useful thing if you can get this cryotherapy sorted out. But you can put one of those in per week, so that's going to get your physical condition right back up to 100% by the end of the week if you put some of these things in there as well, which I think is a really useful thing. So how do I decide what training sessions to put in during a week? So as I've said already, that I will typically have something set up like this, where I have 3 days where I have 2 lots of training, and then the rest with either just one or one and one of the rest and care training sessions. So what I'll do is I'll move to this reports section. I'll have those training things that I want to improve, but I'll also have here, I'll be able to see where we're actually quite close to upgrading some of our training. So you can see here, one of the things that I've been working on initially is backhand power. So we might be focusing on the backhand during this training week. I think it's very, very important at this stage to also focus quite carefully on physical attributes, have a good have a good focus of your training on the physical attributes. So it might well be useful in these early sessions to actually start off with the physical program session, and then you just add in a few technical sessions into there on top of it. So here we actually got the reflex backhand. That's actually what we want. So the reflex backhand, that will increase reflexes by 2, but backhand power and accuracy, it's probably not doing an awful lot there. So this one here looks a better, so placed backhand looks a better bet, and that's only a medium session. The other thing that we want to make sure we've got in here, because stamina I think is going to be so important for a player who really is kind of going to be just trying to stay in points. So one of the big areas I want to focus on here is stamina. So every single week I'm going to be putting an endurance test training in, which is the best improvement you can get into stamina. It's also a little bit of an effect on focus. So what I'll do is with my plan in mind, I will set these up, making sure that here, so we've got 2 mediums together. I think that's fine. We've got, this is fine here, but I might want to, so we've got a volley training here. I don't really care about volleying, so I'm going to take this out. And maybe we'll put another physical training here. This is quite a good upper body training, strengthening. So this improves serve power, because we are wanting to get a decent serve, and natural fitness. And so, as I said, physical improvements are what we are really looking for early days. Training your game plans is really important to do as well. Make sure when you're first in there you have your game plan set. I would sort your game plans out. So this isn't really what the point of this is, because so the primary game plan here is this one. I would focus all your attention on your primary game plan initially, and then once that gets to green, then I would move over to your secondary game plan. So we'll move that to main game plan, and I would put something a little bit more taxing here in next up. So what do we want to do? So maybe we'll go into the technicals and maybe another backhand training session. So should we go with backhand power? So with the attacking backhand training, that looks good to me. So there we go. That's how I've set this up. Doesn't take long, and I just do this every single week, and I just be coming back to this menu. So what I'm thinking about here is, what are the areas that I'm trying to improve? You can really clearly see where things are sort of moving on nicely. So we're going to have a big uptick in backhand power, and we hopefully get that away from the low level of 5, which isn't great, and start to really have improvements on this player's backhand. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. The other things to think about is that training will be impacted by your staff. So if you have good staff in place, their ability to effectively train will be better. So obviously you've got to pay money to get better staff, and not necessarily will better staff want to come to you until your academy is better. But if you have the opportunity to bring in better staff, then do that, because they will improve your training. Make sure you've got staff whose training focuses are in the areas you want the players to improve in as well. That's also very important. Don't just bring in staff because they're great, as long as they may just not be very good at training certain areas. Final thing to think about is at the end of tournament. So if you go out early in a tournament, don't just kind of get despondent and just click continue. Make sure you go to the training window first, because quite often, I'm not sure whether this is improved in this game, but in the previous game you would just have a rest period straight after your tournament. So you need to come in there and just make sure you've got training in there, so you're not losing out on days when you could be training just because you've gone out of a tournament early. If you don't go out of a tournament early, well, you don't need to worry about it, but it does mean that you're making the most of your week. Okay folks, well, we covered a fair amount of things there. Hopefully some of those things were useful to you. Please leave your tips and tricks around training in this game down below. There was a comment on one of my previous videos that suggested that some of the automatic training, and by that I think they mean the sort of training programs that you can put in, they said that they are better in this game. I haven't tried automatic training really much to be clear, and certainly I didn't use it in the previous game, so it may well be improved. It may be give you a sort of more focused level of training. I'm not sure, but if you do have comments on any of those things, then please let me know. Okay folks, well that about does it. Hopefully you found this video useful, particularly if you are fairly new to using training or completely new to the game. If you do enjoy Tennis Manager 2023 content, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because we will be doing a whole raft of different content, all things Tennis Manager. We also do other Tennis Manager games, and we'll be doing a review of the new Absolute Tennis Manager game, which will be coming out at some point in the not too distant future. Looking forward to that. And there's also Tennis Elbow Manager content on the channel as well. All things tennis management you can find here. A bit of Football Manager as well, and other stuff. So that sounds like fun. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you don't miss anything coming up. I'd also love to ask, if you've watched through the video and you've got a bit of knowledge that I didn't pass on, make sure you drop it down below if you've got hints and tips around training. How do you do training? That's what I want to know. Do you focus on particular attributes? They've had people in the past who said they focus very much when they're young. They focus very much when the player is young on doing physical training and then broaden out from there. What's your strategy for training? Put it in the comments down below. Anyway folks, that'll do for another video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.